Now we speak about the Petrine office and papacy. The problem: did Christ give true primacy to Peter? Even if he did, was this primacy according to the will of Christ to be essential feature of the church of all ages? These are the two questions that could be asked. Catholic Church has got one answer, the Protestants have another answer. How to reconcile such a primacy with the authority of the other apostles? That is another question. We see the position of some theologians. The position of Oscar Kuhlmann is a well-known theologian and the biblicist. Kuhlmann's position is a via media between the yes of the Catholics and the no of the Protestants. The position of Kuhlmann is acceptable now to most Protestants. What does he say? The office of the apostle, it could exist only once in the history of salvation. Of its very nature, it excludes the possibility of succession. Therefore, the primacy of Peter is a priority and prerogative of Peter over the other apostles. Therefore, primacy of Peter could not be transmitted to his successors, just as his apostleship could not. One position. It is given to Peter. Peter is given the leadership of the group. That does not mean that the following group also should have one Peter. So the primacy given to Peter is personal. Then the apostles are eyewitness of the risen Christ. They were given an immediate mandate by Christ to give witness to the resurrection and to found the church. The primary function of the apostle is to be an eyewitness. This is something personal, not transmissible. There are foundations, they are the foundations of the church, and foundations are laid only once. They exercised pastoral functions, so they can be seen as prototypes and models of subsequent pastors. So, two meanings. Eyewitness is just a personal experience, being an eyewitness. So, Peter is an eyewitness. It does not mean the one who follows the job of Peter also is an eyewitness. Peter has seen, and the other man came after Peter is no more. So, apostles are appointed because of by virtue of their being eyewitnesses. So only Peter is eyewitness, others are not. So Petrine office of leadership cannot continue. That is the meaning. Then another understanding is the Peter exercised pastoral functions. So Peter can be seen as prototypes. So like Peter, others could be. So it has got a different implication. Then with regard to Peter, he had preeminence over others because he was the first eyewitness and founder of the first community of Jerusalem. Later, Peter hands over to James the headship of Jerusalem community, and he fades out of the picture. Please read Acts 12:17.
He motioned with his hand for them to be quiet, and he explained to them how the Lord had brought him out of prison. Tell this to James and the rest of the believers.
So tell this to James and the rest of the believers. So there he is giving James a special importance. The Catholic viewpoint. Peter is mentioned in the synoptic tradition 114 times. He belongs to the most intimate circle of the apostles. Please take Mark 5:37.
Then he did not let anyone else go on with him except Peter and James and his brother
Okay,
John.
so except Peter. So Peter was there. Take 9:12.
His answer was, Elijah is indeed coming first in order to get everything ready. Yet, why do the scriptures say that the Son of Man will suffer much and be rejected? I tell you, however, that Elijah has already come and that people treated him just as they pleased, as the scripture says about him.
9:12. Mark 9:12. And please take 13:3.
Jesus was sitting on the Mount of Olives across from the temple when Peter, James, John, and Andrew came to him in private.
Yes, so there Peter is mentioned as the first one of the three. Then 14:33.
He took Peter, James, and John with him. Distress and anguish came over him.
Okay. So then Peter represents the others as their spokesman. Please see Mark 8:27 following.
Then Jesus and his disciples went away to the villages near Caesarea Philippi. On the way he asked them, Tell me, who do people say I am? Some say that you are John the Baptist. They answered. Others say that you are Elijah, while others say that you are one of the prophets. What about you? He asked them, Who do you say I am? Peter answered, You are the Messiah. Then Jesus ordered them.
Okay, so Peter becomes the spokesman for the knowledge of the disciples. Please take, we took now 9:5, no?
Yes.
Matthew 17:24-27.
When Jesus and his disciples came to Capernaum, the collectors of the temple tax came to Peter and asked, Does your teacher pay the temple tax? Of course, Peter answered.
So Peter is answering for the group. Continue.
When Peter went into the house, Jesus spoke up first. Simon, what is your opinion? Who pays duties or taxes to the king
So
of this world?
Jesus consults Simon Peter.
Yes.
Yeah, continue.
The citizens of the country or the foreigners? The foreigners answered Peter. Well then, replied Jesus, that means that the citizens don't have to pay, but we don't want to offend these people. So go to the lake and drop in a line.
So
Pull up.
Peter is sent as the person on an errand. Then take John 6:66.
Because of this, many of Jesus' followers turned back and would not go with him anymore. So he asked the 12 disciples, and would you also like to leave? Simon Peter answered him, Lord, to whom would we go?
So Simon has the word in the name of the rest of the ones. The 21:3.
Simon Peter said to the others, I am going fishing. We will come with you, they told him.
Okay. Now we see also, particularly Peter, he is the first one to be called. Mark 1:16-17.
As Jesus walked along the shore of Lake Galilee, he saw two fishermen, Simon and his brother Andrew, catching fish with a net. Jesus said to them, Come with me, and I will teach you to catch men. At once they left their nets and went with him.
So that is Peter. Then Matthew 4:18 following.
As Jesus walked along the shore of Lake Galilee, he saw two brothers who were fishermen, Simon called Peter and his brother Andrew.
Okay. Then Luke 5:1-11. 1-11.
One day, Jesus was standing on the shore of Lake Gennesaret while the people pushed their way up to him to listen to the word of God. He saw two boats pulled up on the beach. The fishermen had left them and were washing the nets. Jesus got into one of the boats. It belonged to Simon.
Okay, that's enough. So Peter is the first when Jesus calls, or when Jesus is given his title Christ, and in this way Peter has a leadership function. The first apostle in all the lists is also Peter, and the last one is in all the lists Judas. That also is another indication. Then the first witness of the resurrection is Peter. Luke 14:34. Luke 24:34, sorry. 24:34.
The Lord is risen indeed. He has appeared to Simon.
Yes. So the Lord appeared to Simon first. Then 1 Corinthians 15:5.
I shall come to you after I have gone through Macedonia, for I have to go through Macedonia. I shall probably spend some time with you, perhaps the whole winter, and then you can help me to continue my journey wherever it is I shall go next.
Continue.
I want to see you more than just briefly in passing. I
No,
hope to spend
1 Corinthians 15:5.
that he appeared to Peter and then to all 12 apostles.
Yes. So he appeared to Peter. Paul's confession, Paul's ground of authority is this, that along with the Peter and companions, he also has been taken as a direct witness. And preaching of Paul is based on this experience. So Peter is everywhere the first one. Then Peter is the rock. Take Matthew 16:18.
And so I tell you, Peter, you are a rock.
Yes, Peter is the rock, and rock, you know, in the Old Testament is the foundation of stability. God is called the rock. So Peter is now called the rock on which Jesus builds the church. Isaiah 28:16-17. (28) 16-17.
This now is what the sovereign Lord says. I am placing in Zion a foundation that is firm and strong. In it I am putting a solid cornerstone on which are written the words. Faith that is firm is also patient.
Okay, that is it. Against the infidelities of the Jewish people and the rulers, the Lord vows to lay a stone of witness, a foundation stone. So this is the background of the statement in the New Testament. You are Peter, you are the rock, upon you I will build up the church. So in this background, it has got implications and resonances connected with the Old Testament understanding. This promise is fulfilled when Jesus established Peter as the foundation rock or stone of the new messianic community. So what do we conclude from all this? All the evangelists accord to Peter a special place among the disciples. According to synoptics, Peter is the first one to be called. He has the first place in the names of apostles. By being conferred a new name, Simon is given the first place. By his communion with the Lord, he is the supreme pastor with the duty to confirm his brothers. Then Peter and Paul. Paul recognizes Peter's authority and prestige on several occasions. 1 Corinthians 1:12.
Let me put in this way. Each one of you says something different. One says, I follow Paul. Another, I follow Apollos. Another, I follow Peter. And another, I follow Christ.
So, Peter's authority and prestige is mentioned, is behind this mention. 9:5, 1 Corinthians.
Haven't I the right to follow the example of the other apostles and the lost brothers and Peter by taking a Christian wife?
Okay. So Peter is mentioned by name when he refers to the other apostles. So the prominence of Peter. Then see Galatians 1:16.
To reveal his son to me, so that I might preach the good news about him to the Gentiles. I did not go to anyone for advice, nor did I go to Jerusalem to see those who were apostles before me. Instead, I went once to Arabia, and then I returned to Damascus. I was 3 years later that I went to Jerusalem to obtain information from Peter.
So Peter, all the other apostles are there, but then Peter is given a special place by Paul. Then Peter is given primacy as the supreme. Peter's occasion of being corrected by Paul, that is taking place in Jerusalem in the council. This should not be taken as Paul being greater than Peter. So it only shows that criticism in the church was possible. One could criticize the leader without being punished for it. So that should be also the nature of the experience of leadership in all the churches. Then Peter is given primacy as the supreme pastor of the people of God and has the duty to confirm his brethren in faith and should remain as the center of Christian unity. So this much about the importance of Peter, which is clear, and the Catholic tradition lays much importance to these references. Then Peter as a Bishop of Rome, successor to the primacy of Peter. Given the scriptural background of Petrine office, we ask, whom did the early church acknowledge as the successor of Peter? The early church, both West and East, considered Bishop of Rome as the successor of Peter. Rome was seen by all as the center and the norm of ecclesial communion. But non-Catholics are unwilling to admit that the Roman bishop had absolute jurisdiction and supreme power over other churches as a divine right. At most, Pope is recognized as primus inter pares, first one among equals, with a special role in maintaining the unity in communion of faith and life of the church. See, the prominence of Peter as the successor of prominence of the Bishop of Rome as the successor, having the special recognition of Peter, is not recognized, is not approved by the Protestants. The importance for Rome as a place is because of the need for unity of the church. When different churches have their different teachings, the bishop of one place says something and the bishop of another place says something, and they both do not agree. How to settle the matter? What they did at that time was to come to a third person, and the third person was always the Bishop of Rome. So he is considered as the person who reconciles in a situation of conflict. So he is given a primacy, but then nobody is greater than the other, nobody is bigger than the other, all are equal. Primus inter pares, the Pope is the first among equals. That is the understanding. Even now that is the understanding, but in practice Pope has a greater power and rule. Then historical factors. Before Constantine, the church appears as a federation of local churches. That is important to note. The church is a federation of local churches. Different churches, Macedonia, Corinth, and different other places. All these are equal powers with equal churches with equal power and dignity. But all these form together one reality. So it is a federation of churches. The special position of the Roman See is recognized, especially in the preservation of the apostolic tradition. There was a constant reference to the tradition of the Roman Church, and there were frequent visits of theologians of repute to Rome, but there had been little assertion of the universal primacy of the popes. So Rome has been given an importance. Theologians used to visit Rome, and Rome in this way was a witness of the orthodoxy of the teaching and the correctness of the magisterial pronouncements, and a solution for when problems arise between other bishops. After Constantine, there was often a collision of imperium with the popes. The prominence of Rome is because of the secular imperium of Rome, where the what is called colonial power, where the pontifex, the ruler was in Rome. So the secular importance was also somehow passed over to the religious ecclesiastical authority. Rome was the most important city of the time, and so the Bishop of Rome also gets a quite of an importance. Then after Constantine, the importance of Rome was reduced. There was often collision of imperium with the popes. The Roman imperium, the Roman emperor and the popes, there used to be clash. In this sense, patrine office was emphasized and the papal powers were insisted upon in this context. From then on, there was an effort to highlight the supremacy of the success of Peter by the popes and the theologians down the centuries. What appeared inherent in the office of successor of Peter was articulated in the concrete terms, at times in an exaggerated way and other times in a balanced manner. So the importance of Pope, the Bishop of Rome, was often made articulate, sometimes in an exaggerated way and sometimes also in a balanced manner, as the first among equals. In this connection, we can see conflicts among theologians, schisms in the church, and so on. Some of the schisms are because of the power collision between the Bishop of Rome and other, especially the Eastern and the Oriental and the Western Church, and also on many other occasions. There was also a dogmatic